Welcome to Wild Her Wisdom, the podcast where bold meets brilliant and wisdom gets a little wild. Join Shelley and Mary as they dive deep into real conversations about life, leadership, creativity, and everything in between. We're here to spark laughter, light up inspiration, and celebrate the wild and wise woman inside you. Whether you're chasing dreams, finding your balance, or just in need of a good laugh, you are right where you belong. Let's jump into today's journey together. This is Wild Her Wisdom.
Welcome back to Wild Her Wisdom. Today, Mary and I are joined by someone who knows me very well, not just as a podcast host, but as her patient. It's my very own doctor, Brianna O'Keefe. She is a mom, she is a wife, she's an athlete, a doctor who has dedicated her career to caring for people in every stage of life. Before we jump into it, though, just a quick note, friends. This conversation is for educational and formal informational purposes only. This is not medical advice. I may disclose some HIPAA-protected information, but that's mine to disclose if I choose to. Always consult your own qualified healthcare provider for making decisions about your health. Dr. O'Keefe, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I was honored when you asked.
I'm so excited about this conversation. I have to cut you off, Shelley, because Shelley's just walking around snapping her fingers, and she'll always tell me, I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so good. You gotta hear from this doctor. So I'm really excited to have you here.
That's a lot of pressure.
I'm bragging about you all the time, Dr. O'Keefe, for real.
It's true.
So you're more than a physician. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're an athlete. You are a tattooed badass. It's one of the things that my kids love about you because you're so real. You're super involved with your family. How has your own life experience shaped the way you care for patients?
I really think that when I look back on just the trajectory of my life and my career and where it's led, that, each kind of trial tribulation has really prepared me to be the doctor I am today, and has given me more insight into my patients in their lives and how they might be feeling. And I think that makes me a much more empathetic person. I think when you can put yourself in your patient's shoes and try to really feel what they're feeling, it definitely helps you to better treat them.
That means so much to a patient. What lessons have you learned from balancing motherhood and a medical career that you wish more women gave themselves permission to embrace?
I think one of the things people will frequently say to me is, I don't know how you do it all. And I'm like, I do not do it all. We shouldn't expect ourselves to do it all. You can't be top notch in your career, top notch mom, top notch partner, wife, whatever, top notch friend, and do all the things. So, we are fortunate enough where we can delegate some things. We have a great nanny who will do laundry, things like that. Because at the end of the day, the things that are most valuable to me is my time with my family and the time that who I choose to spend time with. I'm always telling my husband and my kids, my only non-renewable resource is time. It's the only thing I can't make more of, it hustle more of. So for me, balancing is, where do I place my time and what is valuable to me. Folding my kids' underwear is not as valuable as me being there to tuck them in and read them that story and talk to them about their day. So I think giving ourselves permission to say, I can't do it all, and that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm less than anything else. And I think just giving ourselves the grace to take time for ourselves too, because you can't fill up everyone else's bucket if yours is empty.
That is so true. It's funny. I do a lot of coaching and speaking, and I was talking about that concept recently at a conference I was speaking. I said, you can't have all your burners on high. You just can't. James Clear, my boyfriend of Atomic Habits, talks about that. You can't have all your burners on high. And a lady said, is that a real thing? Like, I can't do that to my stove. And I said, well, you absolutely can, but everything's going to burn. Like, how can you pay attention to everything at once, right? And so making sure that you're deciding which flame you're turning up at a different time and being intentional about what you're putting on simmer is really important when it comes to time management and being intentional. I love what you said about not being able to recreate time. Like, that's the one thing you can't hustle for. That's so important. One of my favorite books this year that I read was The 5 Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom. I don't know if you've heard of it. Amazing book. And he really talks about, being intentional. So I'm going to steal that line from you, Dr. O'Keefe, for sure.
Oh, great.
But when you're thinking about, your kids, and how many kids do you have?
We have 6 together.
That's what I thought. I
Together,
knew that there
so
was
yeah.
more than a basketball team.
Yeah, we have a sub.
So when you think about, your kids and demonstrating to them how to balance, health and wellness and life, how do you do that in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming to them or like preachy to them? Because my kids
Yeah.
are at the age they don't want to hear from me right now.
I think I really try to vocalize kind of every step of the way, like, okay, I have to work late tonight or work on this so that I can be completely present for this thing for you. I think so much of the time the time period that, we all grew up, mental health wasn't talked about a lot. We didn't talk about our emotions a lot, our feelings. And so I really try to be maybe over the top about it, but saying, okay, mommy's feeling overwhelmed, so I need to go get a workout in, or I need 20 minutes to myself, or I have a little bit of anxiety about this. This is what it means to me, and this is how I'm going to balance that. And really also trying to let my kids know that it's okay not to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Yes, am I in a field where I strive to be perfect? 100%, because if you mess up, bad things can happen, right? But in other parts of our life, it's okay that we mess up and we fall and we fail, because we're here to pick you back up. So I think just kind of almost always saying, this is how I'm setting out my day, this is how I'm setting up my life, so that I'm intentional about where my time is, and I kind of know what we need to do to get that done, so I can prioritize my family.
Mary, are you as flattered as I am that Dr. O'Keefe just put the 3 of us in the same age bracket?
I love it.
It's like, sweet angel.
Now, you have worked with women through every stage of life. So, are there any patterns that you see for health concerns that start surfacing, say, in your late 30s, 40s, and 50s, and maybe if you're pushing 60?
Absolutely. So, there's a few types of patients that you see come in. Usually it's, men in their late 20s, early 30s. And it's like, did mom or your partner make you come in? Because you probably didn't come in on your own. And, women, especially mid to late 30s, their care has basically, for the most part, been at their OB-GYN's office, because while I was having a baby, got my pap, I'm good, right? Like, and then I'm chasing after my kids. Yeah, I get their cold all the time, but do I really have time to go do preventative things? So by the time they get to me, they're probably, they're exhausted, and they've been told, well, you're a mom or a wife, or you're busy. Of course you're tired. And so many of those kind of subtle symptoms of perimenopause are creeping in. And, I have the luxury of being able to sit back and go, okay, well, this, because they're always poo-pooing, well, it's not a big deal. I'm like, well, that is a big deal. You're bringing it up because it is a big deal, but I have a feeling you've kind of been gaslit too and told it's not. So you're trying to minimize it. So for me, it's really trying to, one, validate people's experiences. And then 2, dig in and tell them that this doesn't have to be this way. There's so many subtle signs and symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. And, obviously I think I have my qualms about social media, but one of the great things about it at this point is that there is so much more information readily available that people recognize, like, oh, okay, these are things I should be looking at and asking for. So a lot of times it's fatigue, joint pain, body aches, sleep disturbances. It's not always those, we think of like the big hot flashes, sweating, and now my period stopped. It's like that's normally not how it actually presents.
Right.
So the weight gain, that's probably one of the biggest ones that women come to me with. I'm just doing the same thing I was doing in my 20s and early 30s, and now I just can't get it off, and it doesn't matter what I do. So those are the things where when patients come to me, I mean, I hate that that's been their experience up to this point, but it's also like, okay, we can fix this and we can really help you to feel better. And it doesn't just have to be, let's throw you on an antidepressant, right?
Right.
Right. Well, I know for me personally, this is me starting my own HIPAA protected microphone. I didn't know that I was in the perimenopause or menopause because I had hysterectomy, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever. I still have my ovaries, so I'm still ovulating. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm just feeling, like you said, like I'm gaining weight, like things are getting harder. My hair is thinning. And you did some blood work and you're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, holy cannoli. So, I went on HRT. I love it. I literally tell Mary all the time, I'm like, I didn't realize how bad I was feeling
Yeah.
until I started feeling better. Although I have to say the acne that's coming back like I'm 16, hopefully I'll move through that at some point.
Well, we can definitely balance that out, right?
Um, but HRT is really just like one tool in the toolkit, right? Like what other
Yeah.
approaches should women of a certain age take, like when you're thinking about lifestyle or nutrition or supplements that'll really be impactful?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's kind of a tiered approach. So I always like to look at what's your lifestyle like, what's most importantly, what's your sleep like, and I'm a little bit hypocritical about that because sleep is so important. Normally for a lot of us, the first thing is sacrificed. What is your workout? What are your workouts like? I grew up in the time where women did light weights and cardio, and trying to help women understand that actually, lifting heavy weights is one of the best things you can do. Doing that resistance training, you're not going to get like these, you might get jacked muscles, but you're not going to look like a man, right? You can get lean. And then looking, like you said, what's nutrition like? Most women of that age are not getting enough protein or fiber. And, we should be getting 1.5 grams of protein per pound of ideal body mass. So most of the time we're
I'm
way
too low.
undershooting,
My
it.
goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way undershooting. And it's hard to get that much in. But when I tell that to patients, they're like, oh, so that chicken breast I have at dinner is not, I'm like, nowhere near enough. So, and those are kind of easy things that we can start tweaking and fixing without even having to try a medication or a supplement. When I start looking at supplementation, I take a very individualized approach to each patient, as we should. But kind of the overarching supplements that I look at for patients are typically a magnesium, usually at night. Helps with more than just muscle aches, helps with sleep, helps with gut, helps with your brain.
I thought it helped you go to the bathroom.
It does. There are certain types, typically the capsule forms will do that more because they kind of pull that water back into the digestive system. If we are looking at like a powder form, typically it's a little bit gentler on the tummy. So sometimes when patients can't handle the capsule form, we can do the powder form. Berberine is another great supplement. Fish oil is great. That's something I have my kids on. I'm on. I have my husband on. It's more than just heart health. It's great for your brain. Vitamin D, especially in Michigan, that's a big one. Most people are pretty deficient. So I test for it because certainly don't want to overdose somebody, but I literally could not tell you that I've practiced my whole time practicing medicine has been in Michigan, that I've ever seen somebody who's not on supplementation have like a normal vitamin D, unless they had like a major parathyroid issue or something else going on. So those are kind of my top ones that are just kind of easy, ready to go. Creatine is another one for women. There's been some pretty fascinating studies that have recently come out in the last couple of months about the benefits of creatine for our brain. So I know I personally have had trouble trying to get the normal creatine that I get, like my brain, because it's been sold out from it. But that's one that's an easy, I just add the powder to my coffee every morning. And that's an easy one to just throw in there. That's great for our bone health, our brain health too, and our muscles as well. So those are kind of easy out the gate ones that most people will really benefit from, especially women. And then obviously, if there's other issues, we'll start addressing those as well.
So
I'm making a shopping list.
I know. Speaking of social media, because I know that we've talked about creatine too, Dr. O'Keefe, and of course, you go on social media and they're like, ladies that go on, I gained 20 pounds. And I'm like, that is the last thing I need in my life right now.
So if you're getting like a good quality creatine, you're not going to gain 20 pounds. The way creatine actually causes weight gain is it helps absorb water back into your muscles. So you're not actually gaining, you're not gaining fat, you're not gaining like real weight, it's water weight. So you'll see, if you see, I have a lot of issues with fitness competitions for certain reasons because they're terrible for your health. But if you see those people, they're taking creatine, and then they cut it the last 2 weeks because they want their muscles like almost looking dehydrated and like cut.
Wow, that makes so much sense. And those people gaining too much weight on creatine are just putting it in their ice cream, not their coffee.
Right.
So
yeah,
you got to follow the rules.
A lot of times when someone, and there are certain medications that absolutely can cause weight gain, but a lot of times it's like, well, what were you doing with that? Usually there's kind of two hits that happen to cause that weight gain.
Right. Many women are juggling their careers, their family, aging parents, community responsibilities. We all put ourselves last. I think I've been the queen of doing that. How do you help them reprioritize their own health without all the guilt that comes with it?
I think just gently reminding them that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, and it's okay to know that you can't do everything all at once. We're in that very much that sandwich generation. And, that's something that my husband and I have been going through. We just lost my mother-in-law, and, having been taking care of her and trying to help there while also taking care of our kids, it's hard. And, I was the first one to admit, like, I can't do this all. I had to cut back on my hours at my practice for a couple of months so I could be there. Fortunately, my patients were amazing and I was still available for them, but knew I had to prioritize this. And so for my patients, I try to lead by example. And I think I'm probably more open than some other doctors about, if things are going on in my life and it's like, I'm not here as often as I normally would like to be. But also just giving them permission, as I mentioned earlier, to say, I can't do this all, and to ask for help. That's not a weakness. I think it's a strength.
Amen.
So I've known you for several years, probably getting close to 10 years.
Yeah.
And you're not in a traditional practice. And that's what I love about it, because I can call you and I can see you. And when I come in, you listen to me, and I feel like you spend as much time with me as I need. And my whole family goes there, and my kids and my husband have all said the same. Talk to our listeners about the type of practice that you have, and maybe why you didn't go the traditional route.
Yeah. So I am in something called a direct primary care, or DPC practice. And what that means is I don't bill insurance when patients come to see me. So they pay a monthly membership. When they come to see me, they're not paying a copay. They're, not getting upcharged on anything. You can come and see me as often as you want. And if you're coming every day, we might have a conversation about boundaries. But
Oh, do you need me to say something to my husband?
he's been better. He's been better. I love Matt, but all kidding aside, but my minimum appointments are 30 minutes with my patients. My first appointment is going to be at least an hour, because I do want to have that time to be able to, one, get through everything that you need to get through, but also really make sure that I'm listening and understanding where you're coming from. And because I'm not billing insurance, I'm not pigeonholed into, I get 12 minutes per appointment slot, with my patients. Or if I don't order a million tests or refer, I'm not going to be able to bill insurance more. So, I typically refer out a lot less, because one, I have the time to actually address it myself. Two, I'm not worried about having to get reimbursed by insurance. I'm able to have wholesale pharmacy on site, which a lot of times is cheaper than patients even with insurance for them. I have a lab on site. We can bill insurance for the lab, but it really lets me kind of mold how I want to practice without having that pressure from the insurance company.
Yeah.
Now, do I still have to fight insurance quite a bit? Yes, because we still have to get prior auths for patients and things like that. But being able to practice the way I want to practice has been so freeing and so rewarding. I was, through residency and my first years in practice, I was at Sparrow, which is, a big hospital system here in the Lansing area. And I learned so much from that, and I'm grateful for the time there, but it really taught me that this is not how I want to practice medicine. I remember having a meeting with a vice president at the time. We'd have quarterly meetings, go over kind of our numbers. And I was really proud to talk about this patient that I had been seeing who came in. We had to put him on a bunch of insulin because he was severely diabetic. We met every other week, and we got him off of all of his meds. We did nutritional coaching. He lost like over 50 pounds. I mean, I was so proud of this. And he goes, yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. I'm like, oh, great. Thinking he's going to like pat me on the back. And he's like, yeah, we couldn't bill for that. So don't do that. Like, you need to send them out to nutrition. And I was like, what? And that was kind of like that moment where like, this is so not for me anymore. Like, I can't do it. So, I left that practice and kind of worked in corporate medicine for about 5 years, and then still kind of having to listen to how others want me to practice, see more patients in less time, spend more of my time supervising nurse practitioners or PAs as opposed to spending the time and the quality with the patients. So finally I said, I just got to do this on my own. And not that I don't play well with others, but I want to practice the way I want to practice. And I don't want someone, to tell me, sorry, you can't spend an hour and a half with this patient because whatever reason. So, I've been open now at my current practice for almost 2 years, and it's been one of the most freeing and rewarding things I've ever done.
An amazing experience. I mean, it's just I can't say enough about how great of an experience it's been for me and my family. We feel so cared for, which is amazing
Well,
for us.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
That's no BS either. I've heard that from Shelley multiple times
I don't
about your
I don't
practice.
think
So
she's one to just falsely flatter
no,
somebody. So
she is
I know.
not. She is not. So women in this age group often face weight changes that feel very stubborn or unexplained. And I am not being self-deprecating in this moment. I'm going to state a fact just like the fact that I'm a brunette with green eyes. I am chunky. And I have been so shamed when I've gone in to ask for help. And how do you talk about metabolism and body composition in a way that's empowering, not shaming with your patients?
So that's something that's always been so frustrating for me is how many patients who, are overweight, even a few pounds or a lot of pounds,
Mhm.
that come in and are so embarrassed. And I say, this is just a starting point. We're going to figure out what's going on. And not everybody's supposed to look the same way. Um, but let's figure out what's happening here. A lot of times it's not just eat less, move more. It's what are we putting in our bodies? I talk a lot with my patients about exercise and what different types of exercises do with your body. Why weight training is so helpful. Increasing your lean body mass actually increases your basal metabolic rate, which means you're burning more calories just hanging out. I hate the scale. And if you've had an appointment with me and we've talked about weight, you've heard that. I hate when people have weight goals because it's not realistic. And I often use myself as an example. I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was when I married my husband. And if you look at me, you want to be like, oh, this is somebody who's overweight. But if you look back at pictures, you can see my body composition has really changed. And I've gotten a lot more muscular because I've switched from just being a runner to weightlifting and doing low impact, zone 2 cardio. And that doesn't mean that I'm out of shape or anything. That's just our body mass is different. I have less fat, more muscle, and we can change that with patients. I also talk with them, especially like I mentioned earlier, get into our, mid late 30s and why isn't this weight coming off? Why is it different than it was before? And then we start talking about hormones. And I think it's freeing for women or in men too, because men lose their testosterone as well, do their little andropause. But I think especially for women, for me to tell them like, this isn't just your fault. This isn't something you just did wrong. Are there things that we can change that you're doing that will help? Absolutely. But you are literally fighting your own hormones. And just like you wouldn't say to somebody who has type 1 diabetes and their pancreas isn't making insulin anymore, well, just make yourself make more of that hormone. Like that's
Right.
ridiculous.
Right.
So it's the same thing when you can't will yourself to make more of your hormones. Yes, can we do some little things that can increase your own hormone production? Yeah. But is it going to be significant enough to swing the pendulum the other way? Probably not. And so I think just giving women permission to say, this isn't your fault. Let's work together. Let's come up with a plan and start to work towards health. I always want patients to be healthy no matter how they look.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not just about that number on the scale. It's not about the pant size, but it's what are we doing for your health and your longevity?
I love that. And look, my hormones are some mean girls. They're just mean.
Yeah, they really are. They
They're
gang up
just
on
nasty.
you. They leave
Yes.
you like a click.
Yes.
So, Dr. O'Keefe, this is something, and I've talked to you a lot about this because of my family history. Cardiovascular disease is still the number one killer of women. And when you think about it, we really make it seem like it's a man's issue, right?
Yeah.
What signs do you wish more women would watch out for, and how do you approach prevention?
So, I mean, prevention for me starts, there's different types of prevention. We have primary prevention, secondary prevention. Primary prevention means that we're stopping the disease from ever starting. Secondary prevention means you already have some of this disease and we're trying to prevent it from progressing. So primary prevention starts back, when we're just drawing yearly labs. Let's check your cholesterol. Let's check your insulin. Let's check your blood sugars. Let's see what's going on with your liver. If your liver is a little bit inflamed, that tells me, is that fat deposition that's happening? Are you getting visceral fat? Because that's, correlates with heart disease down the line. And then once we get into that, you already have it. Yeah, we start talking about what are symptoms. Women typically have different symptoms than men. It's not that always that crushing chest pain. It can be this feeling of impending doom where it's like something just feels off, maybe a little bit of short of breath, or I'm just like sweating and nauseous. Those are warning signs to me. If one of my patients calls me and I said, you're getting an EKG at the hospital right now, like we're not messing around with this. But I also, if I'm seeing women and men, of course, but especially women where I already know that they have some underlying, probably coronary heart disease or something, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive in let's look at what the endothelial health is, meaning the inside of your vessels. Are those inflamed? Because that tells me there's something going on. Do we need to send you for a stress test so we can see if you're going to have something down the line happening that we can prevent now? So I tend to be a lot more kind of aggressive with those things because, again, it's not always the crushing chest pain, left arm pain for women.
Right.
It's so funny because in my family, we do have a history of cardiovascular disease, but we didn't talk about it. When I was always an athlete, just, I don't know, because I had a lot of energy and I've always been a runner, and we didn't talk about it. And then as I got older, it's like I have high blood pressure and I seemingly do the right things, but it's just, part of my thing. And so I talk to my kids about it all the time. I'm like, in our family, like, so my kids all run and, hopefully they keep it up, but it's like, this isn't a secret. This is part of our, if we had a history of cancer, I would talk to you about this. Like, this is the history that we have. So we always need to be thinking about what we're doing, particularly at a young age.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wish more people had that awareness. It's amazing to me because I always ask family history and so you're like, I have no idea. And, it's obviously one thing if you're adopted or you lost your parents at a young age, so you don't, but it's amazing to me how many people don't talk about their family history. And these are educated people too. And I'm like, this is really important because,
right.
Again, you can walk in and you can be a marathon runner, but you have hereditary, high cholesterol. There's nothing you're going to do to outrun that.
Right.
We have to address this. So, I'm glad that you brought up the importance of knowing your family history and being aware of that. So that's also a big part of prevention is knowing your risk. And if you have an elevated risk, we have to be aggressive about that.
Another thing we don't seem to talk about is bone health. My twin sister has pretty moderate osteoporosis. She's breaking bones probably 2 or 3 times a year. And it's becoming scary. And it just started maybe about a year ago, maybe 2 years. So how early should women start thinking about protecting their bone density and what works best to do that?
About 9 years old.
Wow.
I say that in joke because my youngest are 9-year-old twins and my daughter isn't a big fan of like milk and getting her. I'm like, your bones are building right now. When you're in your late 20s, like you're done kind of building that strength. So we got to get them strong from a young age. I talk a lot with women, 20s on up about, again, the importance of resistance training, load bearing exercise. And that can be yoga. It doesn't have to be doing cleans and doing CrossFit and stuff. Great if that's your jam, but doing things that are going to put that kind of stress in a way onto the bone because that helps to stabilize the bone and keep it strong. Making sure we do have good dietary calcium and getting our vitamin D coming in. As we go into menopause, perimenopause to menopause, we lose the estrogen, which causes that bone resorption. So about 2 years ago, they came out and actually finally said, yes, estrogen is approved. The FDA approved it for prevention of osteoporosis, which is huge for women's health for the FDA to approve anything for hormones really, or anything for women. So, really being proactive. And again, I'm a big fan of hormone replacement for a lot of different reasons. I know it's not for everybody, but that's something to really consider. If you have a strong family history of osteopenia, osteoporosis, especially osteoporotic fractures, that's huge because we know once you're over 65, if you fall and break your hip, you have an 80% mortality within a year. So preventing those bones from breaking is a huge deal.
Wow.
80%? Oh my God, I am stunned.
So protect your bones.
That's wild. And can we go back to the HRT? Because my full hysterectomy was 20 years ago. And I have read, when Shelley started telling me how good she was feeling, I did a little research. Dr. Google is a good and bad thing, as I'm sure you tell your patients.
Oh, yeah.
So what I've read was I may be well past the point where I could use that. And so I'm confused and not necessarily in belief of that, just because I know Google's not my doctor.
Yeah. So the Women's Health Initiative, or the WHI study, came out in 2002 and was a terribly done study for a lot of different reasons. But, kind of the long and short of it is that it really scared us away from hormones. You know, we had women that have been on hormones for years. That was like the mainstay in the 70s and 80s. Everyone's on hormones, and then everyone stopped it. And what have we seen in that last, 23 years now? Cancer rates have gone up, cardiovascular disease has gone up, obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, all those things have gone up because we've stopped those hormones. So now, to your point, it's not too late for you for hormones. Yes. Is it ideal if we can start it when you're first losing it? Absolutely, because then you don't get any of that bone resorption or that, increased inflammation in your body that increases your risk of heart disease, blah, blah, blah. But it's definitely not too late for you. There are still things that we can do.
Good to know.
I love that.
I'll be snapping my fingers along with Shelly.
I was going to say, I like the little dance. Yeah.
I love that Dr. O'Keefe's saying like all these like hardcore medical facts, and then she throws in and a blah, blah, blah. So stress and burnout are real, right? We're all, I always say this, we're more connected yet disconnected than we've ever been. We're, no matter where you work, if you have your email on your phone or your social media, we're just constantly, feeling like we need to be responding to people. What red flags do you look for that might signal someone's health is being impacted by stress?
I mean, I straight up ask it.
Yeah.
One of my big intakes is I ask a lot of social history of my patients. I ask about their jobs, what they've had, and I always ask them if they like it. I had a patient a few weeks ago. I was like, why do you care if I like my job? I'm like, because that impacts your happiness, your well-being, your stress.
Yeah.
How stressed are you? What stresses do you have in your life? Are you a caregiver? A lot of times kind of the red flags I see is that the patient stopped responding to me, or it's, I know I'm supposed to come in, or I know that this is what I need to do, and that tells me like, I need to check in on this person more. And, also tell them that you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. If you're, drowning, you can't hold anybody else up. So we do have to take care of you. If you drop down, there's no one else to pick up the pieces. So we have to take care of you. And I think also from my perspective, like I said before, giving people permission to take care of themselves. And I tell parents, I tell teenagers, whoever you need to tell, I will always be your bad guy. If you need to tell your boss that my doctor said that this is not healthy for me, that's fine. I don't care if they're mad at me. If the parent needs to tell their kid like, hey, this social media or this is not good for you, well, Dr. O'Keefe said so, I'm okay with that. They can be mad at me. Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to, one, protect their health, but also to show them that they need to work on setting their own boundaries, but that's hard for people. So if you need to blame me for your boundaries, that's okay. While we're getting there too.
I love that. I love that about you.
So in your experience, what's the emotional impact when a woman finally feels seen and heard in her healthcare journey?
I mean, it's like one of the things that gets me out of bed in the morning is just that relief. My medical assistant, Jessica, and I have worked together for several years now. And we always laugh. We're like, oh, we haven't had anybody cry yet today, and not, crying is not always a bad thing. Right. But it warms my heart, but also breaks my heart. Like when that's the reaction I get, because I'm like, gosh, you have really struggled for so long to finally get to this point. And the fact that all I did today was just sit here and listen and validate how you're feeling. And it's eliciting that emotional response. For me, that's why you go into medicine, is to make a difference in people's lives and help them to better their lives. So it's one of the most rewarding parts of my job.
Okay, we're just going to ask you a couple more questions, Dr. O'Keefe, because we could be here all day, and then we're going to go into our no filter finale. But outside of medicine, what's one thing you're passionate about that brings you joy?
I mean, obviously my children and my family. I would say for me personally, like outside of the context of that, playing soccer. I play it in my old ladies league and I love it. They've become some of my closest friends, and it's something I've done most of my life. I had several years I couldn't play because of my knees and my shoulders, but being back out there on the pitch, we think we're like really moving fast, but we're probably not, but it's just something that really brings joy. And it's one of the few things that I do just for myself. And we're so busy. Our kids are running every which way. But my husband even recognizes, he's like, you need to go play a soccer game, go have a drink with your girls afterwards. And that is something that just really, just truly is joyful for me.
So on the same vein, what does your perfect day with your family or your friends look like?
Well, it depends on the season. In Michigan, it could be any which way. But I would say right now, it'd be getting up, making breakfast together with my kids and my husband, getting a workout and hanging out by the pool. We kind of tried to build this oasis when we built our house a few years ago, and just seeing all my kids like hang out and play together. Like I said before, with the loss of my mother-in-law recently, we've really come together as a family. So we've been having cousins and my in-laws, my brother and sisters-in-laws over a lot. And that is like just the best. We were sitting a couple of weeks ago after my mother-in-law passed. We just had everybody over, and we were roasting marshmallows over our fire pit. The kids were swimming, and it was just like one of those, this is why you work so hard and do what you do. And that to me is just that like quality time. No one's on electronics. We're just spending time together, telling stories, laughing. That's to me is like a perfect day.
Oh, I love it. I got goosebumps. That's beautiful.
I did too. I got so many chills. I was imagining your mother-in-law being so happy.
Yes.
Oh, she would be. That was,
you come together.
Nothing made her happier than when like all the grandkids were together, dancing, laughing. And so we had a wake for her after the funeral, and we were all dancing to her favorite song, Sweet Caroline. So we were all on the dance floor, just singing, dancing. Exactly. It was really great. So yeah, she would have loved it.
All right, Dr. O'Keefe, this is one of our favorite parts of Wild Her Wisdom. This is the way we like to wrap up every episode, and it is our no filter finale. And so we're just going to ask you a series of questions. Mary and I will go back and forth. Just the first answer that comes to your mind, just how you it's going to be perfect. There's no rights, there's no wrongs. And I think I already know the answer. I think I already know the answer number one, but I'm going to do it anyway.
All right, let's see.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
I knew it.
One health myth you'd love to bust forever.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's not.
Is it the most delicious though?
I rarely eat it. So it is good though. Breakfast for dinner is great.
Favorite form of movement or exercise right now?
Weightlifting. I mean, well, probably soccer because I get to be with my friends and stuff. But if it's just like straight exercise, I would say weightlifting.
A self-care habit you actually keep most of the time.
So hard right now. I mean, I usually am very consistent with my exercise. The last couple of months I haven't been, but usually that's something where I don't compromise on that.
I'm really interested in this one. Go-to healthy meal you can make in under 20 minutes.
I mean, there's so many. I mean, the thing is like, if you have like the right ingredients with like protein pancakes, things like that. But I'll say like when we're on the go, bag of mixed nuts and some hard-boiled eggs are like clutch.
Nice.
Okay. One piece of wisdom you want every woman to carry with her.
You are worthy of taking care of yourself and being heard and cared for.
So goosebumps again.
I know. Dr. O'Keefe, thank you so much for being on with us today. It has been amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. How can people find out more about you?
The good old Google. You can Google my name and my practice will come up, but it's premierprimary.doctor. So that's my website. And so that has all the information about my practice and everything. And, if you look at it, the cute kids that are the patients are some of my kids. So
nice.
Perfect.
All right, listeners, thank you for sticking around for another episode of Wild Her Wisdom. Don't forget to like us on social if you don't already. And make sure you check out our blog. We're constantly updating. Maybe Mary and I are going to share about our new weightlifting we're going to be doing together.
I see that coming.
We could do like a trio weightlifting session.
I love it.
I love it. All right, we'll see you soon.
And just like that, beautiful soul, we have wrapped up another episode of Wild Her Wisdom. But don't let the journey end here. Come connect with us. Follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, and visit wildherwisdom.com to catch up on episodes, grab extra inspiration, and stay part of our Wild Her community. And remember, the conversations here are for your inspiration and empowerment, not professional, medical, or therapeutic advice. Trust yourself and reach out to qualified pros when you need to. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and keep living your Wild Her life. You are powerful, you are wise, and you are absolutely unstoppable.